Good morning, good morning. What's good, everybody out there? My name's CJ. Thank you so much for joining me this morning for another edition of our ever popular, infamous NBA player prop research show presented by PrizePicks. We're going to be taking a look at today's NBA player prop board, talking some points, assists, rebounds, PRA, three-point makes, blocks and steals, double doubles, whatever you guys want to talk about. I'm down, because I'm here to help you with your player prop research. So if you're into that sort of thing, hit the subscribe button. Make sure that notifications are turned on. I go live Monday through Friday, typically at 11 a.m. Eastern time, helping you with your player prop research. And if you don't play on PrizePicks yet, it's a great time to sign up because they're still doing a 100% instant deposit match on your first deposit, all the way up to $100, which means basically you want to put in $20, $50, all the way up to $100. They're going to match that instantly, doubling your dollars for free. How do you take advantage of this? You use promo code Curry. You see it floating above my head. There's a link also down in the description below for you to join. Lots of different ways for you to take advantage of that deal. Use the promo code, use the link, whatever you do, just don't lose out on this deal. Shout out to everybody in our Patreon community. First and foremost, last night was absolutely fire. And it's been fire for a number of different days now. This is nothing new. This is something that we continue to have great success on. Our Patreon community just keeps coming together, finding those winning entries, finding those winning picks. But listen, I could come up here and give you all the lip service in the world. I'd rather just show you what we've been up to. This is our winner's circle area inside of Discord. If you don't know about Discord, you're not sure what Discord is, or you're not a member yet, link to the Discord down in the description below. This was last night, though. We're going to go ahead and get our scroll on here and just kind of let you take a look at all the winners. There I am. Everybody in red, Patreon member. You got the gold gang. They're in gold, red. I mean, just winners, 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 winners. Even on other sites that aren't PrizePicks. This is all from last night, from yesterday. Fantastic night. Lots of green. Look, I got to speed things up. There's too many winning entries being posted from PrizePicks. I'm sorry, PrizePicks, that me and the rest of the community did this to you. But yeah, we got to the money last night. So there you go. That's what's going down inside of Patreon, inside of Discord. We're winning money. Last night was a very, very good night for a lot of community members out there. So shout out to everybody who's a part of the Patreon community, who continues to support my work through Patreon, what I do here on YouTube, what I do inside Discord. I appreciate all the support. Honestly, it goes a really long way in supporting a content creator like myself. I give a lot of my time both on YouTube and inside Discord, and you guys are giving back to me, and we're winning money together. My bankroll never been higher on PrizePicks. So it's been a great time. Last night was another really strong night. So shout out to the gang, man. Shout out to the squad. Appreciate everybody who is here this morning. If you're just now getting here, slap that like button. We're going for 100 likes. If you joined me yesterday, we had a little bit of technical difficulties. We'll call it a malfunction of sorts. My power went out right in the middle of the stream, about an hour into the stream. The power cut out. Then my internet decided it wanted to stay down for a number of different hours. So yesterday was not a good day for me from a technical standpoint, but we're back at it again today. Talking some more player props here on Taco Tuesday. That's right, it's Taco Tuesday over on PrizePicks. Make sure that you're taking advantage of the voting system over in the PrizePicks official Discord, and that you're taking advantage of the voting system out on Twitter, on the PrizePicks official Twitter. That's where you're going to be going to vote on these tacos every Tuesday. You get to decide who the players are, and then you get to decide who the props are that you want discounted. That's what Taco Tuesday is all about. They discount some player props for us, making them a little bit easier to hit. No, it's not a free square. No, it doesn't always mean that you're always going to hit on these tacos. Sometimes the tacos are bad. Sometimes the tacos are bad and they don't work out. But given the opportunity on a discounted player prop, I'll take it most times. Anyway, let's get down to business here. Let's talk to the chat real quick. Let's see what you guys are discussing this morning. Lots of you in here already. Jimmy Green says good morning. He's one of our Patreon members. Shout out to you. Hunter's in the building. Super early gang. Great slate today. I'm so hyped. Yeah, it's kind of a smaller slate versus last night and some of the previous games, previous days, but Still a good size slate for us to find some winning entries, winning props. Steph 3K's in the building. Let's go. Let's go to, back to you. ZXR Skills says, let's get another dub. You know we will. You know we will. Desmond's in the building, one of our respected, highly respected Gold Gang Patreon members. Shout out to you, Desmond. Appreciate you being here this morning. D Graves is in the building. Shout out to you. T-Bone's in here. He says, what's up, CJ and the Patreon gang? Listen here, you need to join Chef Curry's Patreon. He's talking about me. He says, we have open discussions about props and you can make some bread. I'm just saying. Appreciate that, T-Bone. Yeah, we ended up talking yesterday. One of the props we discussed on our daily prop talk discussion inside of Discord was about Tyrese Halliburton at 2 free throw makes. I threw that one out there. I think T-Bone ended up taking it. And of course, Tyrese Halliburton hit the over. He made 3 out of 4 free throw makes. So yeah, he's spitting big facts. Shout out to you, T-Bone. Trevor's in the building. Good morning to you. Drew Bree says, what's good? Patreon gang in the building. Another profitable night. Let's keep it going on Taco Tuesday, you dig? Shout out to you, Drew Brees. Appreciate you being here. Aaron Rodgers, what's good? Kevin's in the building. He says LeBron James got ruled out already. Ouchie wawa. So it sounds like it's going to be Russell Westbrook carrying the load for the Los Angeles Lakers. Mark H., my fellow Floridian, says, what's up, gang? Happy Taco Tuesday. Let's get it. That Hunt Boy 92 continues to find his way into the winner's circle. Another one of our Patreon members who's seeing a lot of green lately. He says, good morning, CJ. Huge night last night. And the Patreon fam, let's get it. Kyle, good morning to you. Patreon has been smashing. Let's keep it going. D Visual Arts, good morning, fam. Good morning to you. No off season. CJ, greater than the power surges. We back. That's right. We're back. No more power surges. Hopefully everything goes a lot smoother today. Duncan W, good morning to you. I see you, my friend. Chris Smith says, what's up? Left that OKC game was money. Love that. Divine Truth. Allah says, peace, CJ. New day, new money. You know how it goes. Another day, another opportunity for us to cash out. Everyday Fantasy. Good morning to everybody today. I guess the power outage yesterday charged up the Patreon gang. Yeah, I guess so. Thanks to everybody that contributed. Yeah, total community effort. Listen, I never claim to have all the answers, to take all the credit. It is absolutely 100% undoubtedly a huge community effort day in and day out. And that's what it really is all about. When you join Patreon, when you join the Discord, you're getting access to a bunch of sharp people in a community full of like-minded individuals who are just worried about getting to the money daily. All right. We help one another. We come together. We discuss our player props. It's good. It's just good all around. Trill Fate dropping the taco emoji. Moody's is in here. What's up, Moody? Travis Knott says, I won $400 early last week, but I've been losing ever since. Jeez. Luis. Can't believe that. Can't believe you've been losing. There's a lot of good props out there, man, that we've been hitting on Mr. Travis. Ronald's Green, what's up? Rusty Bearings. Not gonna lie, been on a losing streak, hoping to bounce back tonight. I hate to hear that. Ty's in the building. Good morning, CJ. Got caught in traffic, so I couldn't make the talk, but let's get this bag. No worries at all. Blake's in the building. What up, Chef Curry? It's Taco Tuesday. You're darn right it is. Jeremy Lanoy, good morning to you. Sean Vega, let's go, fam. Craig Fields, what's up, everyone? Let's get to the green again today. Craig's been on fire. He's another one of our Patreon dudes. Craig's been killing it. Kevin says, smash the like button. Tyrone says, good morning, CJ. Hope you paid your energy bill so we could get a full show today. I hope so too, man. I hope so too. Marcus Henderson already dropping some props. He's liking Emerson's Baby Gap shirt. Will Smith, smack that like button. Will Smith, smack that like button. Thank you, Emerson, for reminding the people to hit the like button. That's how the channel grows. That's how we help more people. That's what this is all about, helping as many people as possible. NP's in here. He says he went crazy. Who else we got in here? 3B, Money Making. Curry, go Magic. Yeah, Magic are in full tank mode. Don't be playing any Orlando Magic props full game. I'm just warning you right now. Do not be taking any Orlando Magic props full game. We are tanking. We are trying to lose. We are trying to make sure that we get a top 3 pick in this year's draft. Okay? Don't take any more Orlando Magic full game props. You take them first half only. Like me yesterday, I took Wendell Carter Jr. over his first half fantasy points. It worked out. But do not, by any means, trust teams that are tanking like Orlando, Portland, Oklahoma City. I mean, shoot, even Indiana had a bunch of guys sitting out. I think they were running an 8 or 9 man rotation last night. Be careful. It is tank season. Be very careful with playing any overs on these teams that are tanking. All right? All right, the mood is right. The energy is good. It's Taco Tuesday. Let's get down to business here and talk about today's NBA slate. Slap the like button if you haven't yet. If you're just getting here, what's up? If I missed you, if I didn't say hello, good morning. Hello and good morning to everybody that I missed. All right, Chicago Bulls at the Washington Wizards, gang. 223 points between these two teams. A 4-point spread in favor of the road team. The Chicago Bulls. Lonzo Ball still out for Chicago. No surprises there. Kyle Kuzma out for Washington. So it'll be Porzingis and Hachimura manning the front court once again for the Washington Wizards. Of course, Carey Jr. and Beal still out for Washington. So a decent total on this game with the spread being 4. Hopefully it ends up truly staying close and competitive. This is probably the game of the night. Must-see TV matchup right here. Milwaukee Bucks visiting the Philadelphia 76ers. Tip-off time 7 p.m. You got 232 combined points between these two powerhouses in the Eastern Conference. A 1.5-point spread. Everybody is pretty much healthy on both sides of this game. As far as injuries go, nothing real impactful. You got Bembry, who's out for the season for Milwaukee. You got Springer, who's out for Philadelphia. But this is going to be a heavyweight matchup of sorts. A slobber knocker, a slugfest. Hopefully it lives up to the hype, because I am hyping it up. Big time hype beast talk right now. But Milwaukee and Philadelphia should be two of the best teams in the Eastern Conference locking horns tonight. I mean, it looks like a really fun game. Moving on here, 7:30 p.m. Los Angeles Lakers at the Dallas Mavericks. Somebody already said LeBron James has been ruled out, which means it's going to be Russell Westbrook and a cast of characters that you may not even know the names of. I mean, Austin Reeves, Stanley Johnson, Wenyen Gabriel, and old man Dwight Howard, my guy from back in the Orlando days, D12, manning the center position. But we're starting to see Anthony Davis pop up on the injury report, which means he's getting closer and closer to coming back for the Los Angeles Lakers, but he will probably not play tonight. Over on the other side of this game, keep an eye on the Dallas Mavericks. I mean, their injuries are pretty much the same. They got Brown, Pinson, Tim Hardaway Jr. all out, so we'll get the normal cast of characters for Dallas, meaning Luka Doncic, Jalen Brunson. You'll get Reggie Bullock, Dorian Finney-Smith, Dwight Powell, a little bit of Spencer Dinwiddie off the bench, but this game, 218.5 is the total with a 12-point spread. It's going to be one of those ones that probably blows out. Blowout alert. You have been put on notice. 7:30 p.m. tip-off time. Detroit Pistons at the Brooklyn Nets. Speaking of blowout alert, love the total on this game, 234 points, but the spread is 14, meaning this game is probably going to get out of hand. Detroit will be without Grant, without Diallo, without Smith, without Livers, however you say the guy's name. I apologize to you, my friend. Over on the Brooklyn side, no Ben Simmons or Joe Harris, but yeah, otherwise, Brooklyn's fully loaded here. Kyrie, Seth Curry, Bruce Brown, Kevin Durant, Andre Drummond. They're going to probably beat up on the Detroit Pistons. So if you're going to play anybody from this game, you might want to make it a first half over only. Or if you take a full game, make sure it's somebody who's going to have a strong game. Somebody like Kyrie, Kevin Durant, those would probably be a safer full game prop type of plays. Moving on down to the last game of the night. 10 p.m. tip-off time between the Utah Jazz and the Los Angeles Clippers. Just 218 points between these two teams. A 1-point spread. So at least the game's going to stay close, hopefully. You got Daniel House Jr., Rudy Gobert, Bojan Bogdanovic, all game-time decisions. Hassan Whiteside and Azubuike, who is out for the season for Utah. If Gobert does not play, that means that Eric Paschall will probably play some pretty big minutes at the center position. But as of right now, Gobert's looking like a game-time decision. So definitely keep an eye on that Utah Jazz injury report and the injury news for that team. Bogdanovic and Gobert being the two biggest pieces. Now, over on the other side, we got some exciting news if you're a Clippers fan or if you're just a fan of Paul George. Sounds like Paul George is creeping his way closer to making his return for the Los Angeles Clippers. they've somehow been able to manage a somewhat decent season, 36-39 without Kawhi Leonard and Paul George for most of their games. But it sounds like PG-13 is going to possibly make a return to this lineup pretty soon. I don't know if it'll be tonight, but keep an eye out on him in the coming days. We might finally see some Paul George back out on the court. All right. Looking at the chat here. Alex is in the building. Finally woke up. Is able to join us live and not be in the replay gang for once. L.A. Lee. Boom. Got it. First try. I got it right. What's up to you, my friend? All right. Go ahead, gang, and let me know if you're liking any points props. We're going to get down to the business here, which is taking a look at the highest hit rate point scores using props.cash. Props.cash provides this wonderful little NBA player prop trends page. Let's refresh it, make sure we have all the latest props pulled in, all the prop data pulled in here on props.cash. If you want to try out props.cash, link down in the description below. I'll get you 25% off your first month. All you got to do, use code Curry when you sign up for props.cash. So we've got the NBA player props trends page pulled up here. We're going to look at the points props. We're going to take a look at the last 10 games, see who's been hitting their props in the last 10. And then we're looking for overs because life's too short to play the unders, right? The overs are more fun to play, right? So we're going to be looking at the highest hit rates. We're going to be searching for some overs on today's NBA player prop board. So starting things off here, we got a number of different guys hitting at a 70% clip. Guys like Grayson Allen, Corey Joseph, Chris Middleton, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Andre Drummond have all been hitting their points props in the last 7 out of 10 games. We go down the list a little further here. We got Drew Holiday, Kyrie Irving, Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, Dwight Powell, Austin Reeves, Luka Doncic, Cade Cunningham, Bruce Brown, all hitting at a 60% hit rate. And then from there, it drops off down to 50% hit rates or below. So taking a look at some of the guys that you are mentioning, let's see who you're liking for some points props. Talking points, then we'll move on to assists, then rebounds and PRA and all the other ones. We're going to start with points. And it looks like we're seeing some different props. Guys like Middleton, guys like Kristaps Porzingis, guys like Andre Drummond. So let's go ahead and start with Chris Middleton. Chris Middleton is on the road, and if memory serves me correctly, he typically scores better when he's on the road than at home. He's a road splits kind of guy. So maybe tonight Chris Middleton is in a good spot. Let's go ahead and load Chris Middleton up here using props.cash. Now, up in the top left-hand corner of props.cash, they got a little search function here. So I'm going to use that, punch in Chris Middleton's name. You could put his first name in, last name in, doesn't matter. So at 19.5 points, you see Chris Middleton over the last 10 games has hit this prop in 7 out of 10 or 70% of his games. Now, the last couple of games have not been so good. In fact, the last 5 have been kind of bad for Chris Middleton. 18, 15, 16, but he's got a couple of 23 and 32 point performances in his last 5, but overall, not so great at just a 40% hit rate in the last 5. We could also take a look at his previous matchups against Philadelphia this season. He's played Philly just once. Back on February 17th, had 19 points against the Sixers in that game. Now, I mentioned his splits, how well he performs at home versus the road. Let's take a look at that. So overall this season, 57% hit rate at 19.5 points, which isn't the worst hit rate in the world. Let's also take a look at the home splits. 45% at home. And when we go away, 69%. So yes, my memory does serve me correct. Chris Middleton, a much better score on the road than he is at home. So Chris Middleton, 69% hit rate on the road. Looking pretty good, right? Especially when you compare it to home where he's just a 45% hitter. Now, moving down here, looking at this Philly defense, there's a lot of red here in these different metrics, different categories, a little bit of yellow sprinkled in. So overall, the matchup, not going to be the easiest. We know that in his one previous matchup against Philly this season, he did not hit the over against the Sixers in that game. He fell short by 1 point. Hopefully his luck is a little bit better tonight. Moving forward here, we're going to look at the DVP, or defense versus position. This chart is free. It's provided by Fantasy Pros. If you go out to Google, you type in FanDuel NBA defense versus position. This should be one of the top search results when you get that. Now let's look at the last 15 games. Chris Middleton, a small forward. He's going up against the Sixers tonight. We could take a look at the points column here and see how many points the Philadelphia 76ers have been giving up last 15 games to small forwards. We don't have to go down super far because they're kind of toward the top in terms of teams allowing some of the most points to the small forward spot. They're giving up about 22 per game. 22 per game in the last 15. I also like to take a peek at the last 7, a more recent sample size of games, which when we do that, they kind of fall down the list a little bit. Over the last 7 games, just 18.5 points. So the average has dropped a little bit. Philadelphia doing a much better job in the last 7 versus the last 15 in limiting small forwards and their point production. Let's go ahead and pull up a projection, what Chris Middleton's projected points might end up being tonight. And for that, we're using Action Labs, which is a part of the Fantasy Labs premium player prop subscription. So you can check that out. Go to fantasylabs.com. Chris Middleton's projected points tonight, 22.7. You could cross-reference this projection against a number of different sites. You can go to someone like RotoWire or NumberFire or Betting Pros. They all offer free single stat player prop projections. But Chris Middleton, his projection on Action Labs, the models seem to really like Middleton tonight. 22.7 points, nearly 23 projected points. And then at 19.5, you're seeing the betting public bet the over on Chris Middleton. So those are real life people like you and me with real money in hand who goes out to these sports books and then they decide if they want to take the over or under. In this case, they're taking the over on Chris Middleton at 19.5 points. What do you guys think about Chris Middleton in this spot against the Philadelphia 76ers? You've seen the road splits, much better score on the road than he is at home. You've seen him against Philadelphia in one game this season, score just 19 points, falling short of the 19.5. Seems like he's, due for a good game. 2 games in a row now where he's underperformed at 19.5 points. Philadelphia, not the easiest matchup in the world, but I don't know. You think Chris Middleton gets it done? Let me know if you're taking the over or the under on Chris Middleton. Let's move on from there. A couple of the other guys that you mentioned. I know Andre Drummond is going to be a popular option because he's been doing a very good job covering his points prop. He's at 11.5 full game points. Some of you might prefer the first half points. That's also another strong way to go when it comes to playing Andre Drummond. But Drummond is going up against Detroit tonight. And we know the Detroit Pistons have not been a very good team. Let's just call it what it is. Detroit, they don't really have anything going on. They're not playing for much, right? Maybe to develop some of the young guys, but outside of that, that's about it. Looking at the last 10 games here for Drummond, at 11.5 points, which is where he's at on PrizePicks, a 70% hit rate for Andre Drummond. Looking at the last 5 games specifically, all green, 100%, 5 for 5, covering 11.5 points, averaging a whopping 15.8 points. I know that doesn't sound like much, but that's a pretty high number for Andre Drummond, a guy who's playing, 4th or 5th fiddle to guys like KD, Kyrie, Seth Curry. I mean, maybe he's like the 4th option on this Brooklyn Nets squad. So that's a pretty good average for him. He needs 12. He's averaging about 16 per game over the last 5 games. Now versus Detroit this season, he's faced the Pistons twice. 2 against Detroit back in October. That was earlier in the season. Kind of have to throw that one aside because at that point he was still with the Philadelphia 76ers. Then he faced Detroit again at Detroit with 8 points. So again, coming off the bench, he was backing up Joel Embiid. His situation here with Brooklyn, a lot better situation. And let me remind you of one more thing, in case you forgot. Andre Drummond, once upon a time, started out his career with the Detroit Pistons. Do you think that they try to get the big man involved here? Do you think they try to get Andre Drummond a good game in a revenge narrative against the Detroit Pistons? I kind of do. And then you look at the other side of the game here. Who do they have to stop this guy? Isaiah Stewart, I think you're a little too small. Marvin Bagley III, I think you're a little too small for Andre Drummond. So I really like the matchup here for Andre Drummond. I could see a situation where the Brooklyn Nets Kyrie, KD, they look to get Andre Drummond the basketball against his former team and former employer in the Detroit Pistons. All right, that's kind of how I'm looking at it. Now we go down here, we look at the Detroit Pistons as far as matchups concerned. Not a very good team. Like I said, a lot of green here on the board. 21st in total points allowed, 25th in field goal percentage allowed, 11th in three-pointers allowed, 26th in three-point field goal percentage allowed, 29th in free throws. So maybe you take some free throw props against this Pistons team. And then 24th in center defense. So yeah, matchup looking pretty good here for Drummond. Let's go to the center position. Let's take a look at the Detroit Pistons, see how many points that the Pistons are giving up to opposing centers over the last 15 games. Now, they aren't giving up a whole lot of points. They are actually the second fewest in terms of points allowed to the center position, but they are giving up over 19 points per game. Andre Drummond needs 12 tonight. We could also look at the last 7 games and see if that average goes up or goes down. It goes up a little bit. They're giving up about 20 points per game in their last 7 games, which is the 4th fewest. So kind of a tough team defensively, but again, when a guy needs just 12 points, they're giving up about 20. I think that there's some upside in this particular matchup. Looking at Drummond here, his projected points full game, 10.4. Now that could be factoring in that this is a blowout situation. Very well could be a factor here that the Nets are projected to blow out the Pistons. So maybe that's why he's projected for just 10.4 points. But at 10.5, you're seeing the public bet the over. At 11.5, they are betting the under. So between 10.5 and 11.5 lies 11 points. So maybe 11 points is in Andre Drummond's future. But if you're scared of the blowout, if you're worried about Andre Drummond not hitting his points prop, you could also take him for a first half point prop. Let's take a look at that. Andre Drummond, first half points logs. Using StatMuse to pull this information up, first half only. And then we're going to go over to PrizePicks. We're going to take a look at Andre Drummond's first half point prop. Where's he at? He's down at the bottom here at 5.5 first half points. He has covered this prop. This prop here at 5.5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 straight games. He has covered 5.5 first half points. He missed this one with 1, so that's 7 of 8. But then he's got 8 of 9. So not bad. 8 out of his last 9 games, he has covered 5.5 first half points. So maybe you prefer taking him in a first half only format. Again, if you're worried about this game blowing out, do that instead. You could do that. All right. So you guys talked about some Chris Middleton points for full game. You've talked about some Andre Drummond points for full game or first half if you're afraid of the blowout. I don't mind either or. There was another one that you mentioned. Oh yeah, Kristaps Porzingis points. You guys wanted to talk Kristaps Porzingis points. So let's go ahead and do that. The unicorn, as you guys like to call him. We'll talk some Porzingis points. He's at 23.5 points. He's going up against Chicago tonight. Chicago Bulls, not a team that we're really worried about defensively. Of course, Kyle Kuzma's going to be out for the Washington Wizards, meaning hopefully that benefits Kristaps Porzingis. Let's take a look at KP6 and his points prop. He is at 23.5 points. 23.5 points on PrizePicks. Let's dial him up here. It doesn't look very good when you type in 23.5 points for Kristaps Porzingis. Just a 30% hit rate, or 3 out of 10. Now, over his last 5 games, he's averaging 23.6 points per game. Versus Chicago this season, he's faced them once. He ended up with 22 points against Chicago in that game. That was back when he was a member of the Dallas Mavericks. That was before he joined the Washington Wizards. So take that with a grain of salt. But yeah, not very good hit rates here for Kristaps Porzingis. The Chicago Bulls defense, we got some green, we got some yellow, a little bit of red, but overall, not a team that we're really fading any players against, right? We're not scared of the Chicago Bulls and their defense, basically what I'm getting at. Moving forward here, Porzingis typically playing the center position for the Washington Wizards. I believe that's where he's going to be tonight, with Hachimura starting at the 4 spot. So we go find the Chicago Bulls. As far as points allowed to centers, they're down toward the bottom, giving up about 23 to 24 points per game. So that's about right where Kristaps Porzingis needs to be tonight. 24 points or more to hit the over. at 23.5 projected points. Looking at the last 7 games, let's see if the Bulls are giving up more or less points. It's about the same, 23.6 points allowed to centers. So we're going to move forward here. Take a look at a projection for Kristaps Porzingis. I got the Zanger going for 21.1 projected points at 23.5. The betting public not showing a whole lot of faith in Kristaps Porzingis. They are betting the under like mad here. Minus 125, minus 130 odds to go under 23.5 points. One thing that just dawned on me is that we did not take Kyle Kuzma out. Let's see what happens when we take Kyle Kuzma out, if things change at all here for Kristaps Porzingis. Let's look at the season. Well, actually, let's not do that. Let's look at the last 10 without Kyle Kuzma, 23.5 points. Yeah, his hit rates really don't get a whole lot better. It's really just a 5-game sample that we need to look at here at 23.5 points. Yeah. So he's 2 out of 5 without Kyle Kuzma this season, playing for the Washington Wizards. So, I don't know. I don't have a whole lot of faith in Porzingis. So maybe when you mentioned the Kristaps Porzingis point prop, you were talking about maybe taking it under. Could be an underplay from what I'm seeing here. All right, so we've talked about some different points props. Yeah, Leroy, you could either fade Porzingis or you could try to take the under on him. But, you don't have to take the over all the time. You could take the under on Porzingis if you think he's going to have a shit game. Maybe he does have a shit game against the Bulls tonight. It's very possible, very possible. Any other points props that you guys are wanting to look at? Going once, going twice, let me know. Otherwise, I am going to move on to assists, but I'm scrolling through here. I'm not seeing a whole lot of other points props being mentioned here. A lot of 5-pick options being discussed. Jordan Barnett coming through with the Russell Westbrook points prop. Let's take a look at Russell Westbrook. He's going up against the Dallas Mavericks. Obviously, the Los Angeles Lakers are without their 2 top players. No LeBron James, no Anthony Davis. Sounds like you guys want to navigate toward Russell Westbrook for some points props. Let's take a look at that. See what we got here. Westbrook's at 19.5 points currently. We're going to look at this season. Games without LeBron James. Games without Anthony Davis as well. We could take both of these guys out. This is one cool feature using props.cash. You can see that this season in 3 games where Anthony Davis and LeBron James have sat, Russell Westbrook has scored 35, 17, and 24 points in those 3 games. That's good for a 25.3 point per game average. Now, let's take Anthony Davis out of the equation. Let's just look at games where LeBron has sat out. Just looking at games where LeBron has sat out. At 19.5 points, he's hit the over in 12 out of 19. So, I mean, I don't know that it's a home run or that it's a lock. Don't know if I could call it a lock. But, it's probably going to be one that's worth considering, right? So let's clear that out. Let's put these guys back on the court, LeBron and AD, and let's just look at how Russell Westbrook has performed against the Dallas Mavericks. 2 meetings against the Mavericks. He had 23 points back in December. More recently, he played Dallas, had 12 points against the Mavericks in that game back on March 1st. So he's averaging 17.5 points per game versus the Mavs this season. All right, so I don't know that it's a home run. But over the last 5 games, Westbrook has been scoring the ball a little bit better here. 22, 22, 20, and 24. He had 4 straight games where he went over. Then he falls a little bit short against New Orleans. Needed to make 1 more bucket to hit the over at 19.5, but he did not. Unfortunately, he did not. So last 5 games have looked a little bit better here for Russ. This Dallas defense, though, is not to be messed with. They are not to be underestimated here. The Mavericks, a lot of red on the board. 2nd in points allowed. They are 15th in field goal percentage allowed. 1st in 3-pointers allowed. 2nd in 3-point field goal percentage allowed. 8th in total free throws allowed. And 1st in point guard defense. So, pretty tough team is this Dallas Mavericks squad. Let's look at the last 15 games, see how many points that Dallas has been giving up to point guards. We go down the ways here. They're giving up about 22 to 23 points per game. So again, not the easiest matchup for Russell Westbrook. He's definitely going to have to get some buckets. He's going to have to get some buckets. And that's always a scary proposition when you're talking about Russell Westbrook. Sometimes he's Westbrook and he's less Westbrook. He's more brick than Brook. So he's going to need to be more Brook tonight and less brick, right? Pulling up a projection here for Russ. He's at 18.7 projected points as of this moment, at 19.5 points on 4 different sports books. We're seeing the betting public all over the place here. We've got 2 different books where they're betting the under -120. We've got 1 book where they're betting the over at -120. And we got 1 other book where they're not touching this prop. They're not taking the over or under. And I think for me, probably not going to touch this prop either. Russell Westbrook, I don't trust you, unfortunately. So that's it, man. That's some points props for you guys to take a look at. Let's move forward here. Let's talk about some assists. You guys let me know who your top dime droppers are going to be. Is there any assist props that are standing out to you? Maybe there's an assist prop that you're really looking at, but you're not quite sure if you want to take the over or if you want to take the under. Let me know in the chat right now. Drop your favorite assist props. I'll start looking at those. And while you do that, it's time for a little water break for me. You can also assist me by hitting the like button. Let's go for 100 likes before the end of this live stream. Think we can do it? I know we can do it because we've done it before, and I think we'll do it again today. Appreciate you, gang. T-Bone, we'll talk more about that Reggie Bullock points prop inside of our Patreon Discord. I'm not ignoring you, but we got to keep things moving. But we could talk more about that one. Maybe in today's live NBA Prop Talk Discord stage for Patreon members. We could talk about that at 5 p.m. Eastern time inside Discord. How about that? Looking at some of these assist props that you guys are slinging out there. Listen, I know one that's already been talked about inside of Discord today was James Harden. James Harden's assist prop is at 8.5. He's going up against the Milwaukee Bucks. We'll probably talk about some James Harden. Before we do that, let's take a look at some of the highest hitting assisters in the last 10 games. We got Chris Middleton and Kevin Durant, both at an 80% hit rate. Looking at some of these 70% hit rate guys like Drew Holiday, Cade Cunningham, Bruce Brown, all covering their props in their last 7 of 10 games. Then we got some guys hitting at 60% or 6 of 10. Corey Joseph, Kyrie Irving, Tobias Harris, and Sadiq Bey. From there, one guy hitting at 50%, that's Russell Westbrook. It falls off down to a 40% hit rate after Westbrook. So I've seen James Harden come up a number of different times today. Let's talk about him. We already talked about this marquee matchup, Philadelphia 76ers versus the Milwaukee Bucks. Both teams fully healthy, fully loaded. All the stars are going to be available tonight. And James Harden, a guy who's been known to kind of crumble in big game situations. Is he going to bring his A game tonight? Or is he going to fold and buckle under the pressure of going up against one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference? Let's take a closer look at James Harden here at 8.5 assists, shall we? Harden, obviously, member of the Philadelphia 76ers. He's been playing some pretty good basketball since joining Philly. Looking at the last 10 games, though, at 8.5 assists. He has covered this in just 50% of his games. There's been games now where he's had some strong double-digit performances. 14 against Chicago, 11 against Denver, 11 against Cleveland, 12 against Dallas, 9 against Phoenix. At first glance, I'll admit, 8.5 assists looks pretty cheap. Looks like a pretty low number for James Harden, right? When we look at his 2 previous games against the Milwaukee Bucks, both of these came when he was a member of the Brooklyn Nets. These are not games for him as a member of the Philadelphia 76ers. He had 8 assists at Milwaukee, 7 against Milwaukee back on January 7th. So kind of take these samples with a grain of salt here. Again, Much different situation now that he's with the Philadelphia 76ers. Now moving down the line here, looking at this matchup, Milwaukee does give up the 23rd ranked assists. That means they're giving up over 25 assists per game. Good matchup for him. And we can look at the amount of assists given up by the Milwaukee Bucks in the last 15 games to point guards and shooting guards. Because Harden's kind of a combo guard, we'll call him. We'll look at both positions, point guard and shooting guard. So starting things off, looking at the point guard position, last 15 games, Milwaukee's giving up about 9 assists per game to point guards, which coincidentally is exactly how many assists that James Harden would need if we took the over. He is at 8.5 assists. We need at least 9 assists out of him if we want to take the over. Shooting guard, Milwaukee Bucks giving up over 5 assists per game to opposing shooting guards in the last 15 games. That is the 6th most. So they're giving up a pretty healthy amount of assists to both backcourt positions, point guards and shooting guards. So maybe you give a little consideration to this guy as well, Tyrese Maxey at 3.5 assists. I know everybody's focused on James Harden, but Tyrese Maxey could also be in a pretty good spot, given that the Milwaukee Bucks are giving up over 5 dimes per game to shooting guards. So don't totally dismiss Tyrese Maxey at 3.5 either. Anyway, back to Harden here. We're going to go pull a projection up for James Harden's assist prop. He's at 8.5. We said he needs at least 9. I have him projected for 10.6. That is 2.1 assists higher than his line at 8.5. He is a pretty nice little betting favorite right now to go over at 8.5 assists, minus 135 on a couple of different books. He's even as high as 9.5, meaning a site like PointsBet thinks that the outcome could be 9 or 10 assists for James Harden. At 9.5, though, they are betting the under, meaning they think that 9 is about where he is going to land. So that's a little bit of information for you about James Harden. But again, I don't think we should dismiss Tyrese Maxey either at 3.5 assists. We've seen him drop 4, 4, 7 in his last 5 games. So I think he's worth considering as well. So pretty decent matchup for Harden or Tyrese Maxey if you want to take the assists on either one of those guys. Let's take a look at some of the other assist props that you guys want to talk about. I'm seeing some love for Kyrie. Armando saying Kyrie assist. Justin is saying Kyrie. Kevin also mentioning Kyrie's assist. So a lot of love. Blake as well. Kyrie's assist. Let's talk about some Kyrie Irving. Enough of you guys have made enough noise that we can talk a little bit about Kyrie. He's at 5.5 dimes going up against Detroit. There is a little concern that this game blows out. Well, not a little. It's a real concern, all right? Brooklyn is most likely going to smash the Detroit Pistons. So anytime you're going to take a player in a game where it's going to be a blowout, make sure that player is going to be a major factor in why the game blows out. In this case, Kyrie Irving, he checks that box for me. One other thing that I like to consider is, do you think that this player can cover his prop in 3 quarters of play? Let's say Brooklyn's blowing out Detroit by 20 or more points by the end of the 3rd quarter. Do you think that there's a scenario where Kyrie has hit 6 assists by the 3rd quarter? Because there's a good chance if this game is a 20-point blowout come 4th quarter that Kyrie may not be in there. He just may not be in there. So you got to ask yourself those kind of questions when you're taking a player in a blowout game like tonight. Anyway, let's go pull up Kyrie Irving here. 5.5 assists. Pretty low number. We've seen Kyrie hit this in 6 out of his last 10 games. More specifically, his last 3 games, he has been dropping major dimes. 8 assists versus Memphis, 6 versus Miami, 11 versus Charlotte. Now, one thing that I want to also mention is if you buy into the narrative that maybe Kyrie, KD look to get Andre Drummond involved, somebody's going to have to be on the end of those assists, right? Maybe it's Kyrie Irving. Maybe Kevin Durant is the trigger man when it comes to dropping these dimes to a guy like Drummond, if they decide to get Drummond involved. But anyway, just something to think about. Kyrie's last 3 games, though, 8, 6, and 11. Doing very good work when it comes to his assist prop. Looking at previous matchups versus the Pistons, we don't have any. Kyrie has not faced Detroit this season. We scroll down here. We take a look at the Detroit defense. They do rank 19th in total assists allowed, giving up about 25 per game. Again, this game has a 14-point spread in favor of Brooklyn. It is most likely going to blow out. Let's go to the point guard position. Let's take a look at this Detroit Pistons squad, see how many assists that they've been giving up to point guards. last 15 games. Scroll down a little ways here. They're giving up about 8 per game, which ranks them down toward the bottom in terms of the average allowed per game. But Kyrie needs 6. They're giving up 8. I think that there's some ceiling here, some upside for Kyrie to reach the over on 5.5 assists. Now, last but not least, we're going to pull up a projection on his assists. He is projected for 6 dimes at 5.5. We're seeing some mixed signals here from the betting public. One sports book being bet over, another sports book being bet under, and finally a third book, even money. No over, no under. Nobody's touching this prop over on PointsBet. But I think for me, I would probably lean toward the over on Kyrie Irving, being that he's showing good form in his last 3 games at dropping dimes. The opponent's not a very tough one. I think that this is a situation where I would say, yes, I think Kyrie Irving could find 6 assists in 3 quarters of play. Say he doesn't play in the 4th quarter because of a blowout. So I don't mind that one. You guys that are mentioning Kyrie Irving for assists, I kind of like that one a little bit more than James Harden. But, maybe I'm in the minority on that. I don't know. Let's see what other ones you guys are liking. I'm seeing some Saddiq Bey assist. You really want to go there with Saddiq Bey? I thought you guys didn't trust Saddiq Bey. What's up, Rashawn Prather? He says, I'm in this bit. Shout out to you for being in this bit. I'm seeing a number of different people mention Cade Cunningham's assists. Let's talk about him. He's at 6.5 today. He's going up against Brooklyn. Again, with this game, major blowout implications here. All right, you have been warned. Cade Cunningham, I don't know how he does as far as blowout situations. We could kind of take a look at some of those splits, though. But I could definitely see why you guys are on some Cade Cunningham at 6.5 dimes. You see what he's done over the last 10 games. He's 7 for 10, 70% hit rate. The last 6 games specifically, dropping 10, 10, 7, 8, 9, and 7. He's ripping off some pretty big assist games in his last 6. Now, versus Brooklyn this season, he's played them twice. He's went under 6.5 assists in both of those games, but they were from earlier in the season. Toward the end of the year, 2021, had 2 assists versus Brooklyn, 6 versus Brooklyn back in December, averaging about 4 dimes per game against the Brooklyn Nets. Now, one thing that I wanted to take a look at here is this season, games in which the Detroit Pistons have lost by 10 or more points. How does Cade Cunningham do at covering 6.5 assists? Ouch, not very good. An 18% hit rate. So those of you who want to play the over on Cade Cunningham at 6.5 assists, please take this into consideration. He has only covered 6.5 assists in games in which Detroit has lost by 10 or more points in 4 out of 22 games. A terrible hit rate indeed, 18%. Okay? Now, we could also narrow this down. If you wanted to look at the last 10 games in which Detroit's lost by 10 or more points, he is 1 for 10. 10%. All right, you have been warned. It's not the greatest hit rates in the world, not the greatest situation here for Cade Cunningham at 6.5 assists. A lot of red. This matchup against the Brooklyn defense, they rank just 12th in assists allowed. So, again, tough matchup for Cade. 9th in point guard defense. Take a look at the Brooklyn Nets here in the last 15 games. How many assists have they given up to the point guard position? Go down, we find Brooklyn. They're giving up about 8.5 dimes. Now that doesn't mean that Cade Cunningham is going to get all 8.5 dimes. Detroit obviously has some other point guards on their roster. They're going to get some of those assists as well. So that doesn't mean he gets all these 8.5. He'll probably get the lion's share, the majority of them. But it's not looking good here for Cade Cunningham. All right, let's get you a projection here. Cade projected for 5.8. 5.8 assists. We look at him at 6.5 assists. 3 different sports books. 2 out of the 3, we're seeing -130 odds. The public not liking Cade Cunningham to go for 7 assists tonight. They think he's held to at least 6 or less. 6 or less assists. Are you guys wanting to take the over or under now that you know that Cade Cunningham has a terrible hit rate? In fact, we're not even going to call it a hit rate. We're going to call it a shit rate because that's what he is. Games in which the Detroit Pistons have lost by 10 or more. This is a shit rate, not even a hit rate. 1 for 10 is terrible, gang. 10%. I would caution you in taking any overs on Cade Cunningham with this terrible shit rate. All right. What other assist props? I will take one more assist prop here for Cade Cunningham, and then we'll move it on and take a look at some rebound props. A couple of people, or maybe just one person, is mentioning Michael Conley Jr. Michael Conley Jr. Who else you guys liking? Mr. James is mentioning some Giannis under assists. There we go to Giannis Antetokounmpo. You guys have mentioned Sadiq Bey. Man, Lewis is really on this Mike Conley assist prop. He's hammering. All right, let's look at Mike Conley. We haven't really talked any Utah Jazz. We'll make Mike Conley the last assist prop. He's at 5. He's going up against the Los Angeles Clippers. Lewis is really on this prop. Maybe Lewis is onto something. Can't say that I've considered any Michael Conley Jr.'s assist props recently, but maybe we should. Over the last 10 games at 5.5 assists, just a 50% hit rate. When we move it down to 5, he has hit 5 or more assists in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of his last 10. So technically it's a 70% hit rate. 7 out of 10 at 5 or better. Not terrible. With it being at 5, obviously there's a situation here where Mike Conley could potentially push. Now, 2 previous matchups against the Clippers, he's had 5 assists in one, 4 assists in the other. So doesn't have some outstanding hit rate against tonight's opponent, the Los Angeles Clippers. Okay, he's hit 5 in one game, which is a push, and 4 in another, which is an under. So he has not gone over 5 assists in either one of his games versus the Clippers this year. So, Lewis, I know you're making a lot of noise about this Mike Conley prop. We would like to know what you see in this because so far it's looking like dog water. You know what I'm saying? Not looking great. The total, 218 points with a 1-point spread. It favors Utah, so at least the game is going to stay close. We can at least say that, right? Now, we could take a look at and see what happens with Mike Conley when a guy like, I don't know, Bogdanovich is out. Let's say Bogdanovich is going to be out tonight. Let's look at the season view when Bojan Bogdanovich is out at 5 assists for Mike Conley. Now that's a little bit better. Maybe we're hanging our hat on that. Maybe we're relying on Bogdanovich being out. He's hit 5 or more assists in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of 8 without Bogdanovich. So I don't know, maybe. But I will point out that one of the games that he missed was against the Los Angeles Clippers where he had just 4 assists. So again, not seeing anything that I love with this particular prop, but you kept mentioning it. I thought maybe we had something that looked a little stronger here, but I don't know, man. Not feeling it so far. The Los Angeles Clippers last 15 games, they are giving up 9.3 assists per game to point guards. But for whatever reason, Mike Conley has yet to capitalize on a friendly-looking matchup against this Clippers squad. So there's that. Pretty good matchup on paper, though. We move forward. We take a look at Michael Conley Jr.'s projection. He's projected for 5.6 at 4.5 assists, smashing the over at 4.5. Minus 165, minus 160 odds. So it's pretty good odds that he's going to get more than 4.5. There's probably a really good chance that this ends up in a tie or push situation. So if you want to take a prop that most likely will end up in a tie or push, then you're going to take the over on Mike Conley Jr. at 5 assists. Just know that there's a good chance that it ends up in a tie at 5. All right, that's enough about assist props. We need to keep things moving here. We're already an hour into the stream. We got to talk about some rebounders. You guys let me know what rebounding props you're liking. I'll pull up the trends here, the guys that are hitting at the highest hit rates for rebounds in the last 10 games. Swig of water from me while we take a look at some rebound props. Grayson Allen is leading the way today at 2.5 rebounds. My boy Grayson Allen has hit this in 80% of his games. Cade Cunningham, somebody that you guys were talking a whole lot of talk about for the over on his assists. He's also been hitting the over on 5.5 rebounds at a 70% hit rate. We got Bruce Brown of the Brooklyn Nets. He's at 5.5 rebounds. He's been hitting the over in 70% of his games. Corey Joseph, also a 70% hitter. He's not up on the board, though, so we can't really talk about him. Austin Reeves of the Lakers at 3.5 rebounds. He's been getting the job done quietly, but confidently, 60% or 6 out of 10. We got Isaiah Stewart of the Detroit Pistons. He's going up against Andre Drummond tonight. Don't know if I love that matchup for Isaiah Stewart, but nonetheless, at 8.5 boards, 60% hit rate for him. Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid, Jalen Brunson, all hitting at a 60% hit rate as well. And then from there, things start to fall off. You're talking 50% or worse hit rates. So taking a look at the chat, let's see what you guys are talking about here. Porzingis was mentioned earlier for points. I didn't think that the Porzingis points look good. I see that my friend Nick's Rashad for life is liking Porzingis for rebounds. That's one that's being mentioned. Let's see what some other popular options or popular plays are looking like here. We got Hector Canales is mentioning Maxi Kleber rebounds for the Dallas Mavericks. Is Maxi Kleber up on the board? He is. He's at 5 boards. So we can maybe take a look at that one. Everyday Fantasy mentioning Daniel Gafford, 4.5 rebounds versus the Bulls. Let's talk about that one real quick because, in case you didn't know, Daniel Gafford, once upon a time, was a Chicago Bull himself. Yes, indeed, he was. He was drafted by the Bulls, I want to say, started his career with the Bulls, and then they traded him away to the Washington Wizards. So Mr. Gafford here in a little bit of a revenge game. Does he come out playing with a little chip on his shoulder? Obviously, no Kyle Kuzma. So maybe Daniel Gafford is in a little bit of a revenge spot, right? Maybe he wants to exact revenge on the team that traded him away to the Washington Wizards. Let's take a look at Daniel Gafford, and then we'll take a look at some of your other favorite props when it comes to rebounds. Now, Gafford, you're going to pull him up here on props.cash. By default, he's at 6.5. We have to bump him all the way down to 4.5. That's where he's at on PrizePicks. And it's still not the greatest hit rates in the world. 50% hit rate. Now, against the Chicago Bulls, as my man Everyday Fantasy pointed out, Gafford at 4.5 boards has covered his prop in 2 games versus the Bulls this season, pulling in 8 January 1st, pulling in 8 again January 7th. So Gafford, maybe he gets it done. But the biggest problem with Gafford is, what do his minutes look like? What are his minutes going to look like? Let's go look at his minutes now in the last 10 games. He's averaging about 16.8 minutes per game in the last 5, 17.5 minutes in his last 10. Maybe they give him a few more minutes without Kyle Kuzma. Let's take a look at that this season without Kuzma. How many minutes is this guy getting? 15.8. I mean, he's not getting a whole lot of minutes, gang. He ain't getting a whole lot of minutes. About 17 minutes per game, maybe 18 minutes if we're lucky without Kyle Kuzma. So if you're taking an over on Daniel Gafford, you got to hope that he gets at least 15 minutes. 17, 20 minutes would be even better. But, here's one thing that stands out. Without Kuzma, Daniel Gafford this season has hit the over at 4.5 rebounds in 86% of his games. 6 out of 7. So there's that. All right. Let's move forward here. Let's take a look at this matchup. Center position going up against the Chicago Bulls. As we mentioned, his former team. Last 15 games, Chicago Bulls are giving up over 15 rebounds per game, nearly 16 boards. So in the 15 to 20 minutes that Daniel Gafford is probably going to get tonight, he needs to be efficient in rebounding the basketball. Needs to pull in at least 5 rebounds in those 15 minutes. Do you think he can get it done? I don't know. Not loving the fact that he doesn't get a whole lot of minutes, because you can't rebound while sitting on the bench, right? You got to be out on the court. Here's what I will tell you, though. He is projected for 5.3 rebounds, which is more than 4.5 at 4.5 boards. The public is liking the over here, minus 130 betting favorite to go over his rebound prop of 4.5. So again, pretty great hit rates when you look at games without Kyle Kuzma. Again, 6 out of 7. Most recently here, March 19th, he had 6 against the Lakers, 6 against Houston, fell short against Milwaukee. And then March 27th, which was just 2 days ago, 6 boards against Golden State. So not a bad hit rate. That could be a sneaky good prop. Again, it's all about the minutes for Gafford. We need him to get about 15 plus, at least 15 minutes for him to hit the over on this. All right, so there's Daniel Gafford. That one's for my man Desmond and Everyday Fantasy, also mentioning Daniel Gafford. So he's 2 for 2 against the Bulls, 6 for 7 without Kuzma. There's a lot of good things here for Daniel Gafford. Let's see. Some of these other rebounds. Duncan W. mentioning Giannis Antetokounmpo's rebounds versus the 76ers is nice. We haven't talked to any Giannis. No Giannis. He's at 12.5 boards. Okay, when I first see that prop, I get a little bit of sticker shock. I see 12.5 rebounds for Giannis, and for whatever reason, I get a little, I get a little scared. a little worried about it. But let's take a closer look. Giannis, obviously, superstar material, superstar player. You're saying 12.5 boards versus Philly is a good look. Maybe it is. Let's take a closer look at that, though. Last 10 games for Giannis at 12.5 boards, just a 50% hit rate. It's not great. Versus Philadelphia, you're saying looks really good. Well, he's 1 out of 2. So he's not completely dominant or anything versus Philly. He did have one game with 16 boards, another game with just 11. So I would not call this a home run play by any means, based on what we've seen so far. But then again, do you feel comfortable taking the under on Giannis? I mean, I don't know. Philadelphia's defense, they rank 19th in total rebounds allowed, 14th in offensive, 17th in defensive. So they're kind of an average or middle of the pack team when it comes to limiting opposing teams on the glass. Now, Giannis is going to play the power forward spot. It looks like, according to Number Fire, that Brook Lopez is going to start at center for the Milwaukee Bucks. So looking at this power forward spot, let's go find the Philadelphia 76ers. They're giving up about 10 boards per game to opposing power forwards. We know the front court for Milwaukee, kind of crowded. They've got Brook Lopez, not a great rebounder. He's more of a stretch 5. They've got Bobby Portis, obviously. He's coming off the bench. Serge Ibaka, they traded for him. So they got a number of different bigs in there that they're probably going to rotate against this Philadelphia 76ers squad. So far, I don't know that I'm loving the over on Giannis. It's looking like maybe okay at best, not anything that I'm going to go, bet the whole bankroll on or anything. But he's projected for 12.8 rebounds. One site, the public's taking the under. Another site, they're taking the over. And then a third site, we're not seeing any action over or under. Let's take this a step further using StatMuse. We go Giannis Antetokounmpo rebounds versus Sixers logs. Look at me spelling his last name right. Okay, so over the course of his career, things look a lot better against the 76ers at 12.5 boards. So he had 11 in his last matchup against Philly. But when you go back further, you see he's hit in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 out of his last 11 games, he has exceeded 12.5 rebounds against the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, these games go all the way back to 2018. So, they go back a ways. I don't know how much stock or faith that we put in the games from 3-4 years ago. But he does have a really high hit rate. 10 out of his last 11 games, he has gone over 12.5 boards. So not an impossible task, but I wouldn't call it a home run. Okay. But I appreciate you bringing it up, Duncan. Maybe some people will take it, being that he's had such a great success rate against this Philadelphia 76ers squad. Let's see here. I'm seeing some Tyrese Maxey or Maxi Kleber? I'm guessing that's Maxi Kleber, right? Rumsey says, CJ's the best insider in the game. Give the boy a like and subscribe, yo. Speaking of subscribers, I see that Nashika Peterson has just subscribed. Thank you for subbing to the channel. IB Evolution subscribed. Jacob Nieves subscribed recently. Roman Davis, thank you for subscribing. Billy Gustafson, thank you for the sub. Not Migs also subbed. And Aaron subbed. So those are some of the new subscribers over the last 24 hours. Appreciate you guys. You're saying that James Harden's assists have now been bumped up to 9. Oh, yes, they have. They have. So, yeah, there could be a real chance that maybe James Harden pushes at 9. Anyway, some other rebound props. I've seen a number of people mention Maxi Kleber. So let's take a look at Kleber tonight. He's going up against Dwight Howard and the Los Angeles Lakers, who will probably also be starting Wenyen Gabriel. So maybe Maxi Kleber's in a pretty decent spot here. We'll make Kleber the last one, and then we'll talk some PRA options. Kleber, he is at 5 rebounds on PrizePicks. We're looking at the last 10 games. Let's put it all the way down to 5, and you can see that in the last 10 games, he has hit 5 or more rebounds in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 straight. 6, 7 out of his last 10 at 5 rebounds or more. So a 70% hit rate in his last 10 games. But more importantly, like we said, this number, 5 or more boards in 5 straight games. So technically a 100% hit rate at 5 or better. Now versus the Lakers this season, he has played them twice. In those 2 games, he has pulled in 7 rebounds in both of those games. 7 against LA back in December, 7 against LA back at the beginning of March. So he's averaging 7 rebounds versus the Lakers in 2 previous games. So things are looking pretty good here for my man Maxi Kleber. Even better is that the Los Angeles Lakers ranked 26th in total rebounds, 26th in offensive rebounds, and 26th in defensive rebounds. So a very friendly rebound matchup here for Maxi Kleber. Now Kleber, Powell, who's the center? Who's the power forward? It's tough to say, right? Tough to say. So we're going to look at both spots. Lakers, last 15 games, giving up over 11 boards to power forwards. You take a look at the rankings here. That is the 7th most in the 15-game span. So very good matchup on paper here for Kleber. Now we're looking at the center spot. Lakers giving up over 15 boards to centers. Kind of a more of a middle-of-the-road matchup if you're a center. So, if Kleber plays more power forward, then, the matchup's a little bit better. But I think he typically kind of comes off the bench and spells Dwight Powell. When Powell needs a little breather, usually Kleber comes in off the bench. I think that's how their rotations have been working. Anyway, Kleber projected for 5.8 rebounds. He's at 5.5 on most sports books. They are betting the under, -130 on 2 different sports books. So I'd probably say lean toward the over on Maxi Kleber. He's shown good rebounding performances in 2 previous games versus the Lakers. 7 boards in both of his previous matchups. He's hit 5 or more rebounds in 5 straight games. Been showing really good form lately at pulling in boards. Yeah, there's a chance maybe he ends up in a tie or push situation where he lands on exactly 5 rebounds, but I think we lean toward the over here. I think the chances of him getting 5 or more rebounds are pretty good based on what I'm seeing. So there you go, Mr. Aaron Rodgers and company. Those of you who were leaving that Maxi Kleber prop, I think it looks pretty good. Anyways, here, let's go ahead and move on from rebounds. Let's talk some PRA options. If you guys have any PRA plays that are standing out to you, leave them in the chat. I can't guarantee that I can get to all of them. I'm only one man. I've only got so much time on these live streams, but we'll take the most popular looking PRA options, the ones you guys are making the most noise about. How about that? I think that's a good way to go about it. So we'll switch this up here from rebounds. We'll look at the PRA highest hitting points plus rebounds, plus assists, guys, over the last 10 games. Swig of water for me. They say you got to stay high, right? 3-6 Mafia. But I got to stay hydrated while I talk to you guys. Wayne's World is mentioning Bagley. Is that a Bagley PRA play that you're liking? Duncan W's mentioning Sadiq Bey under PRA. Christian Ramirez, that's two Ramirez's, in case you weren't paying attention, is liking the PRA for Harden, but he's liking it under. All right, let's start with Marvin Bagley III. You're wanting to take Marvin Bagley III over or under, Mr. Wayne's World. You did not really specify there. But let's take a look at it, because I will tell you this, that Marvin Bagley, in terms of points the last couple of games, very strong. Has been a very strong look, especially without Jeremy Grant. So, yeah, you're wanting to take the over. That makes more sense. Marvin Bagley III is at 26.5 PRA. He's nearly covered this PRA in just points alone in the last two games. So I think Marvin Bagley could be in a pretty good spot. Looking at some of these other guys who have been hitting their PRA before we get into Bagley, Bruce Brown, Corey Joseph, both at a 70% hit rate. Guys at a 60% hit rate, there's a long list of them. Grayson Allen, Isaiah Stewart, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Chris Middleton, Dwight Powell, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Andre Drummond, and Matisse Thybulle. And then from there, it's 50% or worse for the rest of the guys on today's list. So let's go ahead and talk about this dude who is starting to find his groove, it looks like, with the Detroit Pistons. Marvin Bagley III. Newly acquired. You got him right around the trade deadline from Sacramento. Let's look at the last 10 games from Marvin Bagley III. He's at 26.5 PRA. The last couple of games, like I mentioned, been especially good when it comes to points and those things. He's been doing really well. Against Washington, he had 30. Against New York, he had 34 PRA. So what we can do is look at games without Jeremy Grant. How many of those has he played? Well, we don't count anything from January 29th and before, because that was when he was with Sacramento. So really, we're just looking at the last three games here for Marvin Bagley without Jeremy Grant. You can see he had 33, 26, and 34 PRA in those three games. So he's 2 out of 3, or a 67% hit rate in games without Jeremy Grant. So we scroll down a little bit here. This Brooklyn defense ranking 20th in points allowed, 16th in rebounds, and 12th in assists allowed. Of course, the blowout factor is a real thing. I'm going to keep mentioning it because it is a 14-point spread in favor of the Brooklyn Nets. Excuse me. You could also possibly look at some Marvin Bagley III in a first half fantasy point prop. If you're liking the PRA on Bagley and you think he has a good all-around game, maybe you consider some Marvin Bagley over his first half fantasy points as a way to kind of, limit or mitigate any risk in playing him in a blowout spot, right? So we move forward here. Isaiah Stewart's going to be manning the middle at center. Marvin Bagley's going to be at the power forward position. We can go find the Brooklyn Nets. Nets giving up about 23 points to power forwards, about 10 rebounds. So that's already 33 PRA. And about 4 to 5 assists. Let's just call it about 38 PRA allowed over the last 15 games to power forward. So Bagley needs 27. They're giving up a lot more, 38 PRA. Let's get your projection on this PRA for Mr. Bagley. Again, where this really comes to life, or where this really becomes a sweet prop, is with Jeremy Grant out. So his projection is 26.3 PRA. He's at 26.5 on a couple of different books. The public not feeling so great about the over on Bagley. They're betting the under at 26.5. So there you go. What other PRA options are you guys liking here? Let's take a look. Let's go through them. I'm seeing Duncan mentioning Bagley's teammate, Sadiq Bey. He's wanting to take the under. We'll just quickly, since we already talked about one Piston, we'll just quickly look at Bey. Maybe Bey makes for an intriguing under option. Let's go and see what happens here. Let's go to the season view for Sadiq Bey. We're going to remove Jeremy Grant from the equation. And then this season at 25.5 PRA, Sadiq Bey has covered in just 54% of his games, so not a super high hit rate. We look at the last 10 games without Jeremy Grant, Sadiq Bey at a 50% hit rate. We could also take a look at the home and road splits. In this case, he is going to be on the road. So games on the road without Jeremy Grant this season, He has gone just 3 out of 10. 30% hit rate. So not the greatest hit rates when Jeremy Grant is out, when the Detroit Pistons are playing on the road, and we're looking at the last 10 games. Yes, he had 64 versus Orlando. I don't want to hear it, all right? We're trying to forget stuff like that. I don't like people beating up on my Magic. I'm looking at you, Kyrie Irving. But yeah, Saddiq Bey balled out in this game against Orlando. But Orlando, not a very good team. Sacramento, also not all that great. So yeah, he picked on a couple of really bad teams. Otherwise, he'd be like 1 out of his last 10. So yeah, you could probably consider some Saddiq Bey under. PRA versus Brooklyn. Going to the small forward spot here, looking at the Brooklyn Nets. They are giving up a healthy amount of points in the last 15 to opposing small forwards. So about 25 points, about 7 rebounds, and about 3 assists. So you're looking at right around 35 PRA allowed. He needs 26 to hit the over. Let's get you a projection on Saddiq Bey. He is projected for just 24.1 PRA. He is at 26.5 on most books. On those books, they are betting the under on him. But again, he's at 25.5 on PrizePicks. So I don't like the fact that he is a PRA lower than he is on the sports books. If he was at 26.5, I feel a little bit better about taking the under. If he was at 26.5 on PrizePicks, I feel better about taking the under. But the fact that he is already 1 point lower than the sports books, you're losing some value there. You're losing some value. How about that? What else are you guys liking as for PRA? Give me one more good one. One more good one. Talked a couple Pistons, Bagley and Bay. One more decent PRA, and then we'll move things forward here and talk about something else. Yeah, Duncan, I don't know that I would touch the under on Saddiq Bey's 25.5. I'd probably leave it alone. A couple people, well, I guess it's just Wayne's World posting it more than once. Denny PRA, Porzingis PRA. I don't know, guys. James Harden. All right, let's talk about Harden. At least he's more of a mainstream popular player. But we'll make Denny, however you say his last name, an honorable mention for his PRA, right? You guys are talking about him. Some people are mentioning Bruce Brown for PRA, Porzingis for PRA. So put those on your radar. If you guys are taking notes, consider those guys as well. But James Harden under PRA makes for an interesting option because I don't think he's been covering his PRA all that great, which is kind of why I want to talk about him. Yeah, you got to have a little cojones on you, some cojones on you to take the under on a guy like James Harden, but he might be worth taking the under on. Yeah, Adam is mentioning Jalen Brunson at 7.5 points for first half only. He's saying it's a lock. Of course, we know nothing's ever really a lock until it actually hits, right? But I get what you're saying. You're saying it's a strong play. You're saying that Jalen Brunson over 7.5 first half points is a good look. And it is a good look. I've played it, and it's been hitting at a pretty high hit rate. So definitely put that one on the map, on your radar. Anyway, James Harden, last 10 games here. PRA, 38.5 over on PrizePicks. 30% hit rate over his last 10 games. Now, let's look at the last 5 more specifically because we know for sure these are all with Philadelphia. He's only hit the over on this 38.5 PRA in 1 out of 5 games. And I mentioned it earlier, James Harden in big game situations does not always show up, man. I'm a little concerned. Oh, there we go. Last 5 games. I'm sorry. Last 5 games he is covered in 2 out of 5. Sorry, 2 out of 5. So 40% hit rate. Still not great. Decent, but not great. Okay. Moving it down here, we know the Milwaukee Bucks are one of the toughest teams. They're giving up the 17th most points, 18th in rebounds, 23rd in assists, and they rank 24th against opposing shooting guards. So Let's go see what the Bucks have been giving up over the last 15 games to both the point guard and shooting guard positions when it comes to PRA. About 25 points, about 5 rebounds. So you're looking at about 31 PRA there, plus 9 assists. They're sitting right around 40 PRA. So Harden's going to have to be on his A game, basically. He's going to have to be on his A game to hit the over. Now, shooting guards against the Milwaukee Bucks, they're giving up about 24 points, about 6 rebounds. That's 30, plus 5 assists. So about 35 PRA given up to opposing shooting guards. So not the greatest matchup in the world for Mr. James Harden. Projection-wise, I got Harden projected for 42 PRA, so the action projection models are really liking some James Harden at 42. Now, at 38.5, he's a slight betting favorite at minus 120, but he's also a minus 115 on DK Sportsbook, so some folks are still taking the under on James Harden. This is by no means a home run play that he's going to go for 39 PRA tonight against the Milwaukee Bucks. So there you go. James Harden. James Harden. Yes, Adam, I don't even need to look it up. I vouch for it. Without looking it up, trust me, Jalen Brunson over 7.5 points is a good play. It's a very good play. Take a look at it. All right, so we've talked points, assists, rebounds. We've talked some PRA. What else do we have on the board here? How about some three-point makes? Not a whole lot of options. There's 7 different ones we can choose from. I'll pull up the trends using props.cash. Again, if you want to check out props.cash, you can do so by using the link down in the description below. 25% off your first month of props.cash when you use code Curry. Code Curry gets you a discount if you've never used props.cash before. So leave some three-point make props for me, gang. But looking at the board here, we got Corey Joseph, who is not on the PrizePicks board. He has hit the over on 0.5 three-point makes in 80% of his games. We got Grayson Allen up on the board. Grayson Allen has covered 1.5 three-point makes in 7 out of 10, or 70%. We got Tobias Harris from the other side of this game at 1.5 three-point makes. He is covered in 7 out of 10 himself. Drew Holiday, not up on the board, but if they add him, keep an eye out on him, 7 out of 10 as well. Luka Doncic, he is up on the board at 3.5 three-point makes, 70%. So we're seeing him at 3. A little bit of value here over on PrizePicks. Other players that should be considered, well, it gets pretty ugly after this. There's nobody else that's really standing out a whole lot. A lot of these other three-point makers, not really looking great. Maybe Kyrie Irving, 2.5, 60% hit rate for him versus Detroit. So leave some three-point make props that you guys are wanting me to take a look at here. Blake Griffin three-point makes. Isaac, are you joking? Blake Griffin's not up on the board. We will not be talking about Blake Griffin's three-point makes. Tobias Harris, all right. We could look at some Tobias Harris. He's going up against Milwaukee. He's at 1.5 three-point makes. Let's take a look at my man, Tobias Harris, former Orlando Magic player. Always liked this guy. Thought he was kind of like a poor man's Carmelo Anthony. At one point, I thought he was going to be the future of the Orlando Magic. But, you know, all good things must come to an end. He's been on a number of different teams since leaving Orlando. He's currently with Philadelphia, though, and he's facing off against the Milwaukee Bucks tonight. Milwaukee, the team that drafted Tobias Harris. Fun fact, I don't know if you guys knew that. Tobias Harris got his start with the Milwaukee Bucks at one point in time. Over the last 10 games, Harris has hit the over at 1.5 three-point makes in 7 out of 10 games. That is a 70% hit rate. Looking pretty good here. Versus Milwaukee this season, he's faced them once. Back in February 17th, he failed to make even one three-pointer against Milwaukee in that game. So didn't do a good job of hitting threes in that one. Now, Philadelphia is going to be playing at home. So let's take a look at the splits for Tobias Harris. At home, 39% hit rate. Away, slightly better at 44%. Overall, just a 5% difference in his home and road split. So I wouldn't call him a major splits guy when it comes to hitting at a higher clip at home versus the road. Not really a significant difference. But Milwaukee is giving up the most three-pointers, 14.2 in all of the NBA. And they rank 17th when it comes to three-point field goal percentage. So looking like a pretty decent matchup here. Tobias Harris typically spends his time playing power forward for Philadelphia. So let's see how many threes that the Bucks are giving up to power forwards over the last 15 games. They're giving up exactly 2. Tobias Harris needs to make 2 in order for him to hit the over tonight. So decent matchup, not a bad matchup here. And then as far as projections go, I've got him projected for 1.4 3-point makes. The public likes the over on Harris. They think he's going to make at least 2. Slight favorite right now, minus 120 to go over. So there you go. Couple of things to consider with the Tobias Harris 3-point props. What about some other 3-point make props that you guys are looking at? Isaac says Tobias is going to be in hell tonight, sticking with Chris Middleton. I got you. Maxey and Harden threes. Neither one of them are up on the PrizePicks board, but let's get you some projections on these guys. I got Maxey projected for 1.7 at 2.5. He's being bet under at minus 160. And you asked about Harden. I got Harden projected for 2.4 3-point makes at 2.5. He is being bet big time under at minus 190. So there you go. A little bit of info on both Maxey and Harden. Luka threes. Let's talk about Luka because we're getting a little bit of value, I think, here on Luka versus the Lakers, right? I think he's at 3.5 on most books. Let's talk about some Luka a little bit further because he's been taking a lot of threes. Ever since they traded Porzingis away, it seems like his three-point attempts have been through the roof. But Luka Doncic at 3.5 3-point makes a 70% hit rate. When we bump him down to 3, things get even better here. He's hit 3 or more in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 out of his last 10 games at hitting at least 3 or better. 90% hit rate. So not terrible. Not terrible at all. Now versus the Lakers this season, he played them once. March 1st, did not record a 3-point make versus the Lakers in that game. You want to talk about splits? We can look at the splits. Luka's going to be the home team tonight playing in Dallas. So at 3 3-point makes at home, he's hit this in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 out of 25. 17 out of 25. Now away, he has hit this in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 out of 24. So not quite sure what the percentages are, but 17 out of 25 at home, 14 out of 24 on the road. So I would say that just overall, not a significant difference in terms of splits. Lakers, 18th in total threes, 18th in 3-point percentage allowed. So not a great team when it comes to defending the 3 ball. They're not a great team in general at defending much of anything. Point guards, last 15 games, Lakers are giving up about 2.5 3-point makes. Kind of decent, actually. Kind of decent at defending point guards and 3-pointers. Shooting guards are getting about 3.5 3-point makes versus the Lakers. A lot better matchup if you consider Luka to be a shooting guard. So those are both of your guard positions. And then as far as a projection on Luka, I do have him projected for 3.2 makes. But at 3.5, he is being bet under. Minus 150 to go under. So at 3, I mean, dude's just been shooting a lot. And the hit rates, again, 90% hit rate in the last 10 games at hitting at least 3 or more. So that could be a good little look for you. Donovan Mitchell, he's been knocking down a lot of threes. He could be worth looking at if we get him up on the board. He's projected for 3.9, nearly 4 3-point makes. If he's up at 3.5, though, the public is betting the under on this, minus 140 to go under 3.5. So some of these guys that you're mentioning aren't up on the PrizePicks board. We're not sure what the lines would be if they added them. I mean, if they added a guy like Mitchell, he would probably come up at 3.3-point makes. They'd probably put him up at an even 3. If they put Maxey up on the board, they'd probably put Maxey up at 2 3-point makes, because at 2.5, the public's smashing the under at minus 160. So, some of these 3-point props, we're not sure what they're going to do. Not sure what they're going to do with some of these ones. We're just speculating, right? Nick's Rashad for Life says, thank you, CJ, for doing what you do. I make this a daily routine to come support your channel and hitting the like button. I'm out, gang. Good luck on Taco Tuesday. Shout out to you, Nick's Rashad for Life. Good luck tonight. All right, let's move to some free throw makes. Free throw makes, how the story goes with these guys. We want the high usage guys. We want guys like Joel Embiid, who are going to be aggressive and attack. Guys like Giannis Antetokounmpo, who are going to be aggressive and attack the defense. We don't want guys who are going to sit out like Kristaps Porzingis does sometimes and just camps the three-point line. You're not going to get fouled a whole lot out there shooting threes. So we want aggressive players, guys like Luka Doncic, a guy like Kyrie Irving, right? Maybe a guy like DeMar DeRozan. He's pretty aggressive. So we want those types of guys. We want the designated technical free throw shooters for their teams. When there's a technical foul called, who's going to be the guy that gets to go to the line and take that free throw, right? That one extra point can sometimes put you over the hump in late game situations when the intentional fouls start coming out. Teams typically try to force the basketball into the hands of their best free throw shooters. Who do you think would get the ball? Guy like Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Donovan Mitchell, Luka Doncic, right? Those guys would probably be force-fed the basketball in late game situations. And then we want guys who are going to actually make their free throws when they get the chance to shoot them. High percentage free throw shooters. So guys like Chris Middleton, Luka's pretty good. Kyrie's going to be up there. Mitchell's going to be up there. KD's going to be up there. These guys, they make a pretty good percentage of their free throws. Blocks and steals, we've only got one option, and it's Mike Conley Jr. So I'm just going to pull a projection for Michael Conley Jr. for you. I have him projected for 1.6 blocks and steals, slightly more than the 1.5. Over the last 5 games for Conley, he's only hit this in 1 out of 5, so not the greatest hit rates in the world, but he is a betting favorite to go over. And then double-doubles. James Harden's a nice double-double option. Why is that, you ask? Well, because he's got triple-double upside, meaning instead of just 2 ways to hit a double-double, like points and rebounds or points and assists, he's got 3 ways. You've increased your chances. You could get points with Harden. You could get rebounds with Harden, or you could get assists with Harden, meaning he can hit double-digit figures in P, R, or A, right? So guys like James Harden, who are triple-double threats, I do like playing them over on their double-doubles because of that reason. So we're at 98 likes. If you guys can hit the like button a couple more times before we wrap this sucker up, that will put us over 100, which is triple digits, which is the goal every day. The goal every day is at least 100 likes. So if you guys have not hit that like button, man, go ahead, slap that sucker. JS Vocals, you're saying you appreciate the insight. You say, I keep it a stack without the fluff. Listen, we're all about the numbers here, man. People can tout this, boast or brag about that. They could say this play is a lock, but come on now. Let's keep it a buck. Nothing's ever a lock. Nothing's a sure thing until that player prop hits for you, over or under, until that money's in your account. It's never a lock, all right? Some people are out there selling you a hope and a dream, but I'm not. I'm keeping it 100. I'm keeping it 100 most days. I appreciate it. Anyways, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this sucker up. We are an hour and 40 minutes into this stream. I appreciate all the support. I appreciate all of you being here. It is Taco Tuesday. Make sure you do your civic duty and go vote on your favorite players. Go vote on your favorite props. Make sure that you guys are voting on those tacos. We need to build winning tacos. We need to do it. We need to do it. Willie, there's only so much time, buddy. There's only so much time that one man has. But there's lots of NBA first half props. We've talked about some of them. Andre Drummond is one that we mentioned. We talked about Jalen Brunson over his first half props. If there's any in particular that you're liking, Mr. Willie, leave it in the chat, man. Help a person out. Just because I don't talk about it doesn't mean it's not a good play. I mean, there's lots of plays that we could talk about. I could spend 5-6 hours just going through the entire board, but I can't. I can't do it. I can't do it. But those are some first half plays. Yeah, Drummond over first half points. Jalen Brunson over first half points. You got some first half fantasy guys out there. I mean, there's a lot. There's a lot, man. Anyway. We'll continue this conversation over in Discord. If you're a member of Patreon, I will see you inside the confines of those Patreon Discord channels. Until then, good luck today. Let's go get those tacos, and let's keep the winning ways going. Catch you tomorrow, guys. 11 a.m. Same channel, same time. Peace.